Welcome to today's Function Learn, brought to you by the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara in partnership with WIN, our Women in Niagara Council, and Future Black Female. I am so thrilled to be here in this beautiful room. Normally we start, and we do start this today as well, meeting, we're acknowledging the land on which we're located, which is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people. So I was wondering, that land acknowledgement means something to each of you individually. And so instead of reading it and acknowledging that way, I was thinking that we can take a moment to just think of what it means for us to be on this land, which has been the gathering place of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, and how we acknowledge it and what we do. Because I think when we take a moment to really acknowledge the amazing privilege that we have of being here and coming together, that maybe in that aspect we can also take into the conversations that we're going to have over the next couple of hours. So I'll take a moment for that before I move forward. And while we acknowledge this place that we have and come together, I want to also acknowledge my colleagues, Karina and Amy especially. We're also being joined by Brad. But Karina and Amy are the ones who were here yesterday to make and put this place and this room together to make it feel as welcoming as it does to each and every one who has come here. So a round of applause to Karina and Amy. Thank you. As we come together for a seat at the table, a series focused on unlocking opportunity, removing systemic barriers, and elevating diverse voices in leadership, it is important for us that we also recognize the deep histories and knowledge, systems, and leadership of all people that would come here together. And I think it is really when we acknowledge that we actually are looking at each other with respect, and that we can discover shared opportunities that we have as we move forward. Today's session, and I think we're really in for a treat, is actually part of where we have great and very wise speakers and leaders of marvelous companies, organizations that are coming together and sharing the ideas. But a day like today is only possible with the input from each and every one of you, and I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it. So we're in good hands looking at the leadership, we're in excellent hands looking around the room. With that, let me pass this event today over to Norma Kalf, the interim CEO of Innovate Niagara, a dedicated leader committed to fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic goals across our region, as well as the amazing chair of our WIN Council, GNCC's Women in Niagara one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ishka. Good morning, everyone. Isn't this a beautiful space? Yeah, this is great. It's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Women in Niagara Council. We're so glad you're here to share this inspiring day with us. A few housekeeping items before we get started. We have a quiet room you may have noticed when you came in, located just outside in the Cabernet room. This space is available at any time if you need a moment to reflect, meditate, pray, focus on your well-being, or simply take a breath. Some of the conversation during today's panel may touch on heavier topics, as our goal is really to be open and real. So if at any point you feel you need to step away, please know that space is there for you. If you have any dietary restrictions or didn't get the meal you requested, if you need any support during the event, mobility, sensory, or otherwise, or if you need any help at all, please see Karina or Amy in the beautiful, they're both wearing beautiful floral dresses today. At WIN, our mission is to foster the growth and success of women in business across Niagara. We do this through both events and advocacy. You may know us from the Women in Business Awards, or perhaps you've joined us for our region's largest women's networking event, which is the International Women's Day celebration. Each year, we also host our Lunch and Learn series, which offers space for connection and shared learning. This series is proudly sponsored by the YMCA of Niagara, a committed champion of women's leadership in our region. I'd like to welcome Jillian Pagnotta to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introductions. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the GNCC for the warm welcome and win. And we're very proud to be with everyone else today and to be here at her seat at the table. On behalf of the YMCA and Employment and Immigrant Services, I want to express our appreciation for the important work the Chamber does in our region and its business community. We're proud to continue sponsoring these impactful sessions. For nearly 40 years, the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services has been connecting job seekers to meaningful employment and supporting local employers across Niagara. We offer a wide range of services, including recruiting support, wage subsidies through Employment Ontario Employment Services, apprenticeship, registrations, job fairs, and customized hiring solutions tailored to support your business needs. We also facilitate the Canada-Ontario Job Grant, which helps employers access funding to train their staff, an excellent opportunity to invest in your team's development. So if you are a female entrepreneur, please connect with me later today. And I'd love to be able to talk to you about some of the programs and services that are all free and not accessed nearly enough. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today. I look forward to the presentations and this event.
Thank you, Jillian.
Today's event is brought to you in partnership with an inspiring organization, Future Black Female, based here in Niagara. Future Black Female is committed to empowering Black girls, women, and youth through education, leadership, and community building. Their programming and advocacy are grounded in inclusion, social justice, and collective progress. Whether it's skill building, civic engagement, or creating space for Black youth, Future Black Female brings people together to move us all forward. We're proud to partner with an organization so deeply aligned with WIN's values and so rooted in meaningful community-first action. Please join me in welcoming the founding executive director, Dr. Tapo Chimkanda.
Thank you and welcome to everyone. Loving seeing a lot of familiar faces, a lot of women that I've come to know in my time here in the Niagara region. Thank you so much, Ishka. I love her.
I love her.
And the purpose of this event is to focus on solutions to problems that have been plaguing society for hundreds of years, pretty much. Hands up if you consider yourself a feminist. So if we look at a lot of the problems the world has faced, it's feminists who have come up with the solution. And that's what we're here to do, starting today, but continuing on until we see an actual difference in our communities, until we see and can feel and can witness actual equity in Niagara region. We're not here to complain. I always say my background is as a therapist. When you bring up a problem and don't work on the solution, all you're doing is complaining. But we're bringing up problems to work on solutions. And so I invite you today to put yourself aside and think about the person next to you and the person who's not here in this room, that should be in this room and doesn't have access to spaces like this. And how do we make sure that doesn't continue happening? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tapo. My name is Ijala Michael, and I am the Project and Girls and Women's Project Lead for Future Black Female. As the project lead, I'm thrilled to move us forward into the heart of today's program, our Keynote project. It's my honor to introduce someone whose energy, expertise, and passion have left a powerful mark across multiple industries. Crystal Dikanha is an award-winning entrepreneur, senior executive, and customer experience thought leader with over 22 years of success in sectors ranging from retail, construction to hospitality, non-profit, and e-commerce. Known for her innovative approach and her ability to energize teams, which you'll see currently today, Pritula is going to, it's a go-to expert for leadership development, creative recruitment, talent management, and employee engagement. So I know that a lot of times we're looking for people to do those, so keep that in mind. She's also a dynamic speaker who brings insight to one and action to every stage she steps onto, and she'll be doing that today. So please join me in welcoming Pritula to come.
Thank you, thank you. My friends, it's such an honor to be here today. What a beautiful crowd. I want to really dive into what connection looks like. So we're going to start right off the top. And just go ahead and tell me some answers. What does real connection look like? What does real connection look or sound like?
I thought enough.
Eye contact, relationships,
And often,
authenticity. Not all at once, my friends, just one at a time. What else? What else? What does real connection look and sound like?
openness.
Openness, trust, hugs, right? And so when we, go ahead. Listening and learning. And when we think about real connection, and when I was invited today to really talk about having a seat at the table, one of the challenges that we often see with women in business, and hands up if you agree, is it's hard to find a connection unless you're connecting with another like-minded, perhaps woman in business. Would you agree? Try doing business with, I'm going to speak freely today, is that okay? With a white male, it's a little bit challenging. And I welcome all the people in the room that are men. Welcome, Leon, thank you. It can sometimes be a little challenging, would you agree? Right? And I'm not saying all the time, oh, we have another white male in the house. Welcome. So excited to have you. And when I talk about, having a seat at this table and real connection, I was so excited to share this today because the reality is it's hard. It's hard for us women to connect with each other sometimes, yes? Right? And so I really wanted to be able to give you some tools to be highly successful in connecting, making those connections. And as we grow, allyship, Future Black Female is doing some fantastic things to really develop mentorship, develop allyship, so that it's not women of color or Black women just doing business with each other, my friends. That's not what it's about. It's about learning and developing with our networks and our people and really removing some of those biases that we face every day, yes? Makes sense? So, are you ready to get a little interactive with me? Because anybody that knows me knows I'm a little interactive. And so, I want to share a little story about this relationship I made 10 years ago. And if anybody has received any of my emails, this week is my 10-year anniversary in business. So, super excited about that. And as I thought back and reflected on today, I was thinking about this relationship that I made at one of the very first conferences I attended when I started the business. And I went to Dallas and I made this connection with this lovely lady. Her name was Allie. And, we got talking and chatting, and she had that Southern twang in her voice. And, we talked for like 2 or 3 days. We tried to eat lunch together. And there was a real one of those moments. Yes, you know what I'm talking about when you have those connections? And it was just a fantastic connection. And when I got home, I was like, oh, I got to follow up with her. Does that happen? We forget. Guess who followed up with me? Allie, right? She followed up with me. She followed up with me that when I got home, 5 days after the conference, there was this beautiful card in the mail. And the card had a picture that at the time I had this picture on the cover of my Facebook, which was my whole family. And she had that picture on the front of the card. And inside the card, she wrote, Crystal, it was such a joy to meet you. I wish you continued success in your entrepreneurship journey and some other details. Signed, Allie. Did I cry? Right? And so I got that, and guess what my intention was afterwards? Oh, I'm going to follow up. So, of course, I sent her a thank you. And then I'm like, I got to follow up and actually book a meeting. And I gotta. Did I? No. That was August.
Good.
Then came Thanksgiving. Guess what Allie did? She followed up again. Allie followed up a total of 5 times. I did business with her on the 5th time, and 10 years later, I'm still doing business with her. Allie's business was send out cards, if anybody's familiar with send out cards. It was a custom card business. And so you had the ability to craft these beautiful cards and send them with little brownies and all sorts of things. And I started wanting to do business with her from the first card she sent me, because it was such a cool experience and it was so custom. But did I? No, I waited and I waited and I waited, right? And she kept going. And it was that real, genuine connection. Now, Allie and I talk like at least once or twice a year. We talk. We're always on social together. So it's about this real understanding, my friends, because we all have good intentions, yes? Yes? I'm voice activated, yes? Yes? So we all have good intentions, but we want to be able to take some action. And so if you're ready to take some action with me, say yes, yes. All right, so I want to be able to, really be honest here. And so can I get everybody to stand up for just a minute? We don't have lunch for a while, so go ahead and stand up for me. So I'm going to ask you to put 1 or 2 hands up. If you've ever been to a networking event and forgot somebody's name instantly. Did it happen today?
Yeah.
Right? All right, next. Hands up if you've ghosted someone you meant to follow up with. Come on, Sarah. Come on. Anybody? All right, next. If you felt awkward giving out your business card, like, here, take your business. Have you? Anybody? Have you ever felt awkward? Do you give your business card to people that don't ask?
Yeah, sometimes.
How do you feel about that? If I want your card, would I ask you for it?
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. I make a rule. I don't give my card to somebody unless they ask. Guess what happens? That's the law of attraction. Now, I don't have to follow up with them. Guess what, my friends? They're going to follow up with me. Right? Maybe. Maybe. Okay, next question. Here we go. If you've ever left a networking event with a pile of business cards and you've never looked at them again. Come on. 2 hands up, Natasha. I see them. Right? How about this? If you have ever said, let's connect soon, and never did. Come on, Teresa. I know you've done it once or twice. We've done it. The power of knowing people in the room is that I know your names. So if you're ready, my friends, are you ready to actually build real relationships? Yes? That lead us to real connection and real results in business? Yes? Awesome. So let me see your hands up, ladies, if we're ready. Give me a little clap. Let's do it. I want some good energy. All right, have a seat. See, I got my applause before I even finished. So I want to talk to you about the follow-up formula. And the follow-up formula really, my background is employee experience and customer experience. And when I talk about designing employee experience, wouldn't it be great if we loved where we worked? Yes? How many love where they work? If your boss is with you, just put your hand up. How many work for themselves? Right? And so the idea of creating these unforgettable experiences happen from the employee level, right? We want to cultivate this culture of success with our employees and ultimately cultivate the culture of success with our customers. And so how do we do that? Well, we're only in business if we make sales, yes? Right? And so we got to be able to create these follow-up systems so that we're constantly making sales because we have all the tools. Has anybody ever tried to lose weight? Right? So I've been trying to lose weight for 43 years. I'm 44. But we have all the tools. I often say I could write a book. Right? I know what to do. I know I need to sleep on time and wake up on time and drink the water. I know. Right? I know. We all know, yes? Do we do it? When you do the behaviors and the actions, we get the results. Would you agree? Why is it so hard? Because what? I know. Kale doesn't taste as good. right? But can you dip it in chocolate? Everything dipped in chocolate tastes a lot better. And so we want to be able to really use the tools that we already know. And everything I'm going to share with you today, my friends, it's not rocket science. But I want you to make a decision today that if by the end of this year you want to transform your business, your network, your growth, whatever that goal is that you want to take to that next level, think of that year that you set, that goal that you set out in January. Some of you, it might be to hit a certain financial target. Some of you, it might be to make a connection or do business with somebody in particular. Whatever that goal is, guess what? We need to take the action to get it. Right? My friend Sarah just started a fantastic new business. I'm so excited to dive into it. And it's a skincare line. And so, she's going to have to start making these networks and these connections, yes? And so when she starts making these connections, fortune is in the follow-up. If you take one thing away from me today, it's fortune is in the follow-up. And my friend Julie has probably heard me say that about how many times, Julie? And so when you talk about follow-up, I want you to create those memorable experiences and those connections. I want you to do business with people you've never done business before with. I want you to get in those uncomfortable spaces and those uncomfortable conversations and start to be a little more comfortable and confident. Because ultimately, if we as women in business, women of color, just women in general, then we have to be making sales. Would you agree? Because life is better when you can travel freely, you got some good money in the bank account, you can do the things you need to do, right? And that's about connections. And so when I look at sales, 80% of sales, my friends, 80% of sales require 5 follow-ups. So I want you to think, right now, I want you to think of that one customer you're supposed to follow up with, that one person. Maybe it's not a sale, maybe it's just a relationship you're building or a donor you're connecting to. Think of that one person. You got them in your mind, yes? How many follow-ups have you done? You feel like they're ghosting you, right? Well, because we've only maybe connected with them one time, right? And if 80% are happening after 5, and I'm using sales here, but if you're in the donor world or not-for-profit world, it all applies. It's all the same. It's human behavior. But 48% never follow up. Are you in the 48%? No, you're in the 51%. You're going to start following up, right? But if 48% never follow up, 25% make that second contact. Only 25%. 75% don't make a second contact. 12% make that third attempt. 10% make more than 3 attempts. 10% of people make more than 3 attempts. Isn't that crazy? My friends, you're probably in the 10%. Right? I hope you're in the 10%. I want you to be in that 10% because 80% of sales are made on that 5th to 12th attempt. Now, it's not like, hey, Julie, are you interested today? Hey, Julie, are you interested today? Are you interested today? You know what? I'll call you next week. Diana, are you interested today? It doesn't work that way. Right? Just checking in. How many sent a just checking in email in the last week? Just checking in. Right? We have to do things differently. We have to be fascinating. We have to be somebody that people want us to come, want to talk to, want to connect with. Right? And so that 5th attempt, it doesn't necessarily have to be an email. It can be a LinkedIn, it can be a social, it can be a voice note. And I'm going to share some great tools with you today, but it can be different things because when you stand out is when connection really happens. 75% of customers expect to receive 2 or 4 phone calls before a business gives up trying to reach them. Isn't that interesting? What do you think about that? 75% expect. Who did I talk to today about the board games? Who was the board game? Tammy? What did I ask you, Tammy? I said, please follow up with me. I said, please follow. I said, connect with me. I'm hoping you, now the test is on, that she'll call me, right? And if I miss her first call, I'll definitely answer her second call because I want to talk to her. And I think most times we forget that if people had genuine interest, if people have asked you for your business card, if people want to connect, you're not doing them a disservice by following up. They want to do business with you. When I was in retail, I used to sell leather jackets. Anybody know a little company called Danny Leather? So it was one of the greatest Canadian retail success stories. They kind of went down, and now they're back up again. And, that was where I started off in retail. And I remember if somebody came in there looking sharp in a leather jacket and they felt great, I would be doing them a complete disservice if I sent them out the door without gloves. Like, what good is a warm leather jacket if your hands are freezing, right? And if they had, back then it was red boots, I would say make sure they have the red jacket, the red purse, and the red gloves, and of course you need a wallet to go with your new purse, right? And we've got these cute little coin purses. Wouldn't you want to know? Right? So when I think of sales, I really put the hat on that I am in the business of improving lives with the product or service that I have. It's not about selling something, because I'm never going to sell somebody something that they don't need. Would you agree? Being pushy in this world doesn't work. Attracting and serving is what works. So I'm going to share a little bit of a formula with you today, but I'm leaving you with some stats because I think these really will help to understand the importance of what we're doing here. Businesses lose up to 68% of customers due to the perceived indifference. Perceived indifference. So I remember working with, when I first started the business, I remember connecting with a home builder, and I came from the home building industry. And it was me, it was my roadblock, it was my mindset that thought, they're going to want to do business with somebody like them, right? In particular, a male. And it got in my head. It started blocking me until I kept going, kept connecting, kept building a relationship. And it took a while. It was almost a 3-year sales cycle, to be honest. But it worked. And now we have that great relationship. So it takes intentionality. It's not about rushing, but it's about making sure that you don't make up your mind for them. Sometimes we do that. We make up our mind for people, yes? All right, so here's the thing with networking. It's really this science experiment, if you ask me. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's this formula that you put together because some people want emails with all the details, and other people want a text message, and somebody else wants a voice note, and somebody else wants a phone call. Would you agree? Yes. And somebody else would want a card in the mail. And it's like this science. Right? I went to an event the other day. I'm home for the next couple weeks. I do a little bit of traveling, and so I'm home, and so I'm trying to get to all these places. And I specifically went to this event because I wanted to bump shoulders with that person. It cost me $120, but I went. Guess what I did? I bumped shoulders with that person. Guess what I did on Monday? I had a call with that person. Guess what I'm doing next week? Connecting with that person. And I've known them for about 4 years. But I wanted to be at that event because they just celebrated a big win. I wanted to be able to celebrate with them. I'm going to follow up next week. I'm probably going to send them some flowers. It's costing me, but I know the return is different. Right? And so we have to find out what kind of formula works for your business. So why does follow-up fail? Typically, follow-up fails because we don't have a system. So you got to ask yourself a couple of these questions. You got to ask yourself, how many here have a CRM system? How many here use your CRM system? Well, a little bit less. It's like a love-hate relationship with the CRM. CRM, for those of you who don't know, is a customer relationship management system. It is not an Excel spreadsheet. It is not where you just put stuff in and it never brings it out. A proper customer relationship management system will make sure that customer that you met back in December and was hot remains at the top of your follow-up list when the time is ready. So you're not forgetting about those people that you talked to a year ago, because what happens is you develop these relationships years ago and then you forget about them. They go into the pit, yeah? But those are the ones that if you actually built a relationship with, those are the ones that are actually hot now because they trust you. They like you. And you know how the old saying goes, do business with people they know, like, and trust? I think in today's day, in the day of AI, in the day of automation, in the day of technology, I would also add people they can relate to. Right? When you think of social media and you're TikToking and you're doing all the things, it's what the content that gets you is content that you can relate to. And so as much as I don't want you to be a chameleon and be different people to different people, you have to be relatable. And sometimes you have to say, no, it's not good for you to do business with that person. It's not going to work. But guess what? Real connection means I can connect you to somebody who might be a better fit for you. Right? So we have to have that confidence. So the follow-up formula, it's a pretty simple 7-step formula. And so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. So if you want to take notes or take pictures of the slides, whatever works. But it's about connecting authentically, listening deeply. We want to make sure that we're capturing those delightful details that we can use to follow up that allow us to stand out from everybody else. Of course, we want to offer that value. Timing is important. Following up at the right time is critical. Making sure that we're personalizing things, not just, personalizing an email. I mean like real personal. Like personalized, stand out, because everybody's email says their name on it, yes? Right? So let's do something a little different. And then nurture the relationship. So let's talk about connecting with authenticity. And so when we connect with authenticity, of course, we want to lead with real connection. Do we just go and say hi to somebody and tell them all about our resume? Come on, be honest with me. Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm in sales, and I work with customer experience, and I work with businesses and leadership. And do I just blah, blah, blah? Do we do it sometimes? Sometimes. They tell us something, and then we're like, ooh, that's a good client. Let me just tell them what I do. Does that ever happen? Voice activated. Ask questions more than you talk. Do we sometimes feel like if I just tell them all about me, if I just tell them all about my business, they'll come to me? But instead, it's about following up. And so can we ask the right questions? Can we ask questions that are going to give us the right answers so that we can really use that as a method to follow up and create connection? As I'm going around today, I'm trying to connect with all of you. Do you feel like I'm connecting with you? Mm-hmm. Right? What am I doing? Put your phones away, my friends. I don't actually see anybody on their phones, which is really great. And if I do, now you won't be, because it's that eye connection, right? When you're talking to somebody, stand in front of them. Now, as much as I love the podiums, and I know there's a place for a podium, but if I was doing the same talk from behind a podium, what happens? It's literally a barrier, right? And so I think you want to really put that in mind is, are you connecting, true, genuine connection? Can you actually make that eye contact? Or are you just like looking through them and waiting for them to ask you for your business card, right? Or waiting for them to do that sales transaction, right? We want to be able to make that true connection. You want to mirror their energy, not their words. Sometimes I like to mirror their energy and bring it up with me. Right? So I might talk to you, I might say something, and then I notice they're standing a little taller because I haven't stopped smiling, because it's important to me, because I actually have joy, and I know when I'm in networking things and I can feel the smile and the energy drain. Does that happen sometimes? Then you have to slip away. Right? You have to make that transition and slowly slip away, because that energy is not going to be good. Right? So not everybody's meant to connect with everybody. Okay, listen deeply. We all know we're supposed to listen, yes? Who here has a partner that listens to them really well? Right? So I told my partner that I really, I love fragrance, but I'm really particular about the fragrance. Fragrance gives me headaches. And so I'm like, I really like sweet smells. And he's like, what do I get you for Christmas? And I'm like, oh, you know what, anything, but don't get me perfume, because I'm picky and I only like these certain brands. He's like, oh, yeah, okay. Guess what I got for Christmas? And candles. But I got a big perfume, and it was totally opposite of the scent that I liked. And I was like, I told you. He goes, yeah, you were talking about it. So he was listening, because I was talking about perfume, but he wasn't listening to the fact that I said, I don't like perfume. He was listening and just hearing, but not understanding. Right? And so we have to be able to, we do that, whether we believe it or not, unconsciously, my friends, we do it. We listen, but we're not actually listening to understand. And we want to be able to make sure that we're connecting that way. So when you're trying to connect with people that are different than you and develop those allyship and those relationships and those mentors, you have to listen to the details, because what's important to you might not be important to somebody else. I was having a great conversation with somebody the other day who is from the Baha'i faith. And, you know, I'm familiar with the Baha'i faith because I have a really close friend who's Baha'i. And so she was telling me more and more about it, and she invited me to an event, and I went to the event, and it was just a really lovely experience. But I had to connect with that. And then when I saw something that was of the Baha'i faith, because, you know, our phones listen to us, and of course, now it's going to come in all your phones, and I got something teaching me about one of the principles, I shared it with her, right? And so that creates that connection, because I was listening to what was important to her. What else? Listen to pain points. I love this. Ask is there something you've dealt with often? Is this something you've dealt with often? Bless you. If I'm trying to connect with somebody and, you know, they're telling me about the pain. Oh, you know what? We have a staffing problem. Anybody have staffing problems? Hands up if you have challenges with staff, right? It happens all the time. And we have to kind of reflect, right? And so they're telling me this problem. I'm like, is this a one-time thing? Oh, yeah, we just lost this person. Never happens. First of all, that never happens. But if they say that, right, then I know it's a one-time issue. Then let me help solve that for you. If it's going on and on and on, then you know that's a longer challenge. And so you're going to follow up accordingly. But you have to be able to listen to those details. We want to capture details. So there's a great book if you're all about experiences and really making those connections in your business. It's called Driven to Delight. It's a Mercedes-Benz experience, and it talks about how you create delight in all the moments, whether they're with your customers or with prospects. Because here's the thing. If you treat a customer like a prospect, they'll never leave you. Would you agree? Right? It costs 8 times more for us to do business with a new customer than to do business with somebody that's already a customer. 8 times more because of marketing and connections and all the things. And so we want to make sure that those detailed moments are creating that loyalty, right? And even though they might not be your customer yet, you're networking and you're connecting with them. If you treat them like they're your person, guess what? You're their person. When they're ready to make that decision, they're only going to connect with you because you've developed that relationship. Sometimes people don't even remember that they haven't done business with you. You're just their person. Would you agree? Because when somebody says your name, that's the person I'm going to think of. All right, so offer value. We know about offering value, but I want to talk a little bit about sharing some resources and making sure that you're sharing things that are of value to them. One of the things that happens often in business, and especially with women in business, we go to women's events, yes? We go to business events that are for our particular industry, yes? You know, I'm in customer experience. I go to all the customer experience things. You have to change your industries up a bit. You know, challenge yourself to do something a little bit different. Go to an event you haven't gone to. Go to an industry you haven't gone to. And if there's a way you can serve that industry, you should be there. You should be the one yellow umbrella, right? You should be the one that stands out. And so when I look at offering value, I wanted to share a way that I offer value. Who here uses voice notes? Hands up if you use voice notes. Who here's gotten a voice note? Has you ever gotten a voice note? Man, oh man, they're amazing. Who doesn't like them? I once met a person who really hated voice notes. Do you remember, Julia? Who was that? Do you remember? There was somebody I was with that hated voice notes, but that was one person. When I'm driving, when I'm doing these long drives, I will send voice notes all the time. LinkedIn has a fantastic feature where you can send a 60-second voice note. To get a voice note versus a text or a message that everybody else is sending you is really powerful in the follow-up game because it shows such a different sense of emotion. So I really encourage you to use voice notes if you can. Right time. So any guesses on when the best time to make a follow-up call is? Any guesses? Not all at once? 24 hours? Anyone else? 48 hours? Okay. Of course, an hour, that, you know, quick follow-up is great. But Friday afternoons. How many of you would call on a Friday afternoon to do a follow-up? Anybody? Would you call? We got one person in the room, maybe two. Friday, literally afternoon, is one of the best times to follow up or connect with somebody. Especially if you don't have that relationship and you're trying to build and break down some barriers and really connect with them, call them on a Friday afternoon at 12 o'clock. Not to do business, but just to connect. Don't send an email. Call. Pick up the phone. Forget the telephone phobia. Send them a voice note or call. Because that connection on a Friday at 5 o'clock, who books meetings on Fridays at 5 o'clock? Anybody? At 3 o'clock, at 2 o'clock? Except we have an exception. But most people, after 12 o'clock on a Friday, you're not booking a whole lot of stuff. It's a perfect time to connect with somebody over the phone. When you don't follow up, my friends, it's really a delayed opportunity, if not a lost opportunity. Again, personalizing the experience, remembering those details that are really important. Like, you don't have to give me an answer here, but like, when was the last time you really sent that handwritten card? There's 12 months a year. Just send 12. Just do one a month. Could you do one a month? Start with one a month. Like, when was the last time you got one in the mail? Do you remember how cool it was to open an envelope that looked a little different? Or you can get a company to do it for you. We have I have a great colleague. Has anybody heard of PaperScript? They're a local business. She's fantastic. She does these subscription boxes where for a nominal fee you get a couple cards in the mail. Right? So listen, the resources are out there. You know what to do, but we can't ask for help and then not take action. Would you agree? Right? We know we have to send cards. So my friends, just do it, because copy and paste doesn't convert. Right? Those little connections do. We want to nurture the relationships. I always say celebrate their wins publicly. If somebody just won a great award, and if you were at that event, take a picture, follow up in an email, or take that picture and celebrate them on LinkedIn. Right? Instead of just talking about ourselves, maybe celebrate them. Right? Think about ways to invite them and stay connected. But you also want to share opportunities and say things like, hey, listen, I thought of you. Again, not rocket science. This isn't something you don't know, but do we do it? Right? All right, my friends, shall we do a little test? So I gave you a couple little insights today. I want you to make sure you've got, CRM systems to follow up. I want to make sure that you're connecting and listening to details. I want to make sure that you're using things like voice notes. I want to make sure that you're paying attention to the value and the personalization that you can do. And so I put a little activity together for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, I need everybody to stand up and then I'll give you instructions. All right, so give yourself a little shake, get a little comfortable. So you can take your phones with you. So I encourage you to take your phone with you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make our way in a minute. We're going to make our way over to the networking area over here. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go and find somebody you've never met. Okay, so move away, move around, find somebody you've never talked to. I'd like you to introduce yourself. And you'll notice once you introduce yourself, once you have your partner, I want you to make your way to a table. And on the tables, we have these lanyards, and they're called Talk to Me tags. And so I'd like you to go through and just pick one lanyard, and your partner can pick one lanyard, and you're going to put the lanyard on, and you're going to start a conversation. And the lanyard has a question on it, some kind of fun, creative questions. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay too, my friends. Get creative. Don't ask about business. Right? Or if you want to ask about business, ask about it in a real connection way. All right? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then you're going to switch. I'll do the 5-minute call out, and then you're going to switch with that partner. So 5 minutes for you guys to talk, and then we're going to find a new partner. Sound good? When does the phone come in? The phone will come in a minute. That's one step. One step. Good job, though. Okay, so that's one thing. I want you to listen to your answers, and I want you to really listen to your partner, because afterwards we're going to do a bit of a phone challenge, a little bit of a LinkedIn or social media, or even an email if you don't have socials. We're going to do a little bit of a challenge. And so you'll need your phone after to take pictures. But I want you to be able to really connect. Got it? And remember the details that you're sharing and that are being shared. Would you agree? You ready? Okay, now I have one rule, because there's a lot of you and we have to eat some food. And so when my hand goes up, if you see my hand go up, I want you to put your hand up, and I want you to stop talking. Sound good? Because it means I have to give you some instructions. Does that sound good? So at the end, I should see everybody's hand up in a nice, quiet room. Good? All right, so go ahead, make your way over to the tables. Find a partner. Get over there first before you find a partner. And I've also put some other questions up on the screen that will help you create some connection and conversation. Speak to somebody you've never spoken to, completely different than you. Today, you chose this session today, this event, and I don't know if you believe in law of attraction or not. I don't know if you believe in moments that are needed, but I want you to really ask yourself why you chose to be here today. What about this event, that seat at the table? What about this? I mean, there's so many events. GNCC puts on amazing events all the time. Why did you choose to be here today? I want you to think about that. Whatever your goal was for today, you know, it was my goal to give you some things that were going to transform your experience, that we're going to be able to improve the quality of your life, that we're going to be able to make those connections. You saw it, right? Help me out. That we're going to be able to make those connections so that you can perhaps meet your sales goal this year. Perhaps connect with that donor that you wanted to connect with. Perhaps make that relationship last longer. You know, whatever that might be. We're halfway through the year, my friends. We don't have a lot of time left. Tick-tock. Let's go, right? And so we can't keep, hoping, because hope, as much as I love hope, I'm a hopeful fanatic. I don't think I would have made it 10 years in business if I didn't have some element of hope. So hope is important, but it's not a word that belongs in a business plan or a strategy, right? We can't, I'm a woman of faith. We can't ask God for help and not move our feet. So you know what you need to do. Me coming here today is just that, a little bit of icing for you, but you already know these things. And so fortune's in the follow-up. You have to take action. If you don't take action, my friends, guess whose fault it is? Right? We only have ourselves to blame, and we don't want to do that. So I challenge you today, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on social media, if you're on whatever platform, if you're not, use email. And if you're not on email, then good luck to you. But use whatever form. And my challenge to you today is to just connect with that one person. And it doesn't have to be to try to sell them something, but do it in public. Because, if you do it in public is where that connection can start to really develop, and you start to hold yourself accountable. Would you agree? Right? You start to hold yourself accountable to continue the connection. And so, make an introduction to somebody. Really try to meet them at your next event. Do whatever you can to make that connection real and long-lasting. And my clicker's not working. One moment, please. All right, so it's my hope that you got some takeaways from today. But I'm just going to ask the audience here. Was there anything that surprised you when you did that networking exercise? Anything that stood out?
5 minutes goes really fast.
5 minutes goes super fast. You had one?
I'm surprised that I got a hug and I'm not a hugger.
Oh, and did it feel good? It felt good, right? What else?
I was surprised that everyone felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not just us. It's like everyone's discomfort of kind of looking to try to find a pair and talk about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you think about the questions?
I like them. It focused the conversation.
Yeah, it kind of gives, and they were random, totally random questions. But I'm going to give you a tool that'll give you a whole bunch of more of those questions too. But, it's a little bit different. What else? Anything else?
Well, the questions you said very common and we were able to relate.
Yeah.
We did a really cut conversation.
Exactly. That was my point is, remember I said know, like, and trust, but it's relatable. I wanted to figure out how you can relate, right? And so, I want you to really reflect on what follow-up could actually look like, because sometimes in the follow-up world, we also think, well, I'm never going to do business with that person, so it's okay. Do we think that sometimes? Hands up. So I don't need to follow up? Come on, my friends. Right? Like, let's be honest. We think, I'm never going to do business with that person, so I don't need to follow up with them. They're not top of mind. Right? Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And let me tell you, when your word is spoken in rooms that you're not in, that's the power that you're making. That's the impression that you're making. Right? And you have to think of what people are going to say about you, what people are going to, that's your reputation. Right? So if you made a connection and never follow up, well, that's part of your reputation. But if you made a connection and you started following up, that's also part of your reputation. All right, so if it's okay with you all, I'm going to wrap up today's session by, just leaving you with one magic thought, is that the magic isn't in the first impression, my friends. It's really in that follow-up, right? And that's what creates that Disney experience. It's that follow-up. It's that constant connection, doing things a little bit differently. So it's my hope that today's session will be really productive and profitable and help you to make those connections, strengthen your allyship with communities and people you've never spoken to before. And I really want you to feel like you have a seat at the table. You belong at the table because you are a connector, you are a networker, you are a business leader or a leader in any scope. And so I put together a little tool for you if you want to go ahead and download that. There's 40 action items, 40 one-liners I put together. It was supposed to be like 50, but I got tired, so I might do a follow-up. I was like, this is a lot. And so it's really, the idea is to turn those conversations into real clients. I don't want you to come home again with a whole stack of business cards and no sales, and no connections, and no relationships, and no business, right? So I want you to be able to take those and put them into action. That's it for me, folks. I had a great time. I hope you took away some good points. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you.
Great. And there was such great energy in the room, huh? I felt like, boy, talking about myself and not about my business is really hard.
Thanks.
But it really is genuine, isn't it? So I hope you enjoyed making the connections too. And maybe you've worked up a good appetite after that. So please enjoy lunch. And don't forget to continue the conversation at your tables. Remember to use the tips and conversation starters that Crystal has provided. And at the back, there's some organizations that we've put together that have resources for your business. So please make sure to visit them during lunch. We're going to take half an hour, and we're going to regroup with the panel at 1:05.
This next portion of our program is something I'm finally to introduce, our panel conversation. They're going to hear from three remarkable women, each bringing unique perspectives of navigating the digital and matters. First, we have Marilyn Tian. Marilyn is the president of Business Media Week, a Niagara-based leader in business publications, events, and AI-powered solutions. With a background in international business and marketing, she leads initiatives like 40 Under 40, supporting local growth and innovation. Marilyn also chairs the DEI Advisory Committee for Niagara Falls. Her global perspective connects Niagara to international markets, including China, Germany, and Japan. One more round of applause, Marilyn, please.
Thank you.
It's so lovely. Next, we have Sarah Pritula, Director of Philanthropy at Habitat for Humanity Niagara. With over 15 years in the nonprofit sector, she has raised millions for health, housing, and grassroots initiatives. Sarah is also an award-winning speaker and co-founder of Fit Fearless Beauty, the skincare brand that celebrates resilience, experience, and authenticity. Whether she's building homes or mentoring emerging leaders, Sarah brings bold energy, empathy, and purpose to everything she touches. Please welcome Sarah.
And how beautiful it is.
And finally, we have Sharon Corcoran, founder and owner of Corks and Bubbles, Inc., a Niagara-based artisan-backed and body company known for its creativity and quality. Yes, I said quality. With a background that includes leadership roles at Nestle Canada, Sharon now also coaches women entrepreneurs through the Niagara Women's Enterprise Center. She's a champion for small business, inclusion, and community leadership. Serving on several boards, including Goodwill Niagara and GNC's own DEI committee, Sharon is known for empowering women to build confident, purposeful careers and ventures. Please welcome Sharon.
Thank you.
So I believe we're in excellent hands for this discussion, and please join me in welcoming back our moderator, Crystal DeConrad, to today's conversation. Can you make that round of applause a bit louder? For your full.
Awesome. So thank you for joining me, ladies. It's so nice to have this conversation with people I can call my friends and colleagues who do this. And so it's our hope to really be able to bring some light to some key areas of the conversation today. You know, our the theme for today is to have the seat at the table. And, you know, as Future Black Females Foundation, as they're growing the organization, as they're creating advocacy and allyship and mentorship in the community, we want to really bring this conversation to the table. And so, you know, as you saw today, it was all about networking and connecting. You know, how do we develop and strengthen some of the ways we can grow as women leaders in our community? But I also have to look at some of the root causes, some of the challenges that we face. And so in this conversation, we really want to kind of focus on a few key things. We want to be able to raise awareness, right? Because there is a level of awareness that's needed to be able to understand that systemically, women of color, Black women have different challenges in business and beyond, right? And so we really want to be able to create some awareness and raise the awareness around that. We want to promote actionable strategies, because it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing, as I shared all day today, right? Those actions, what does that first step look like? We want to talk a little bit about what does allyship look like in our businesses, in our communities, with our families. Right? I've had some conversations where, you know, we were talking about Indian food, and somebody's like, "Oh, we've never eaten Indian food," and I'm like, "There's people that still haven't eaten Indian food." so the allyship is needed, right? To like just try something a little bit different, just give it a little shot. And then lastly, we want to be able to build intentional connections, real genuine connections with people that we might not typically be making those genuine connections with. So thank you for joining us. So if it's okay with you, we're going to dive right into some heavy questions. You ready? All right, so first I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about your journey and how you got here. So what I'd invite each one of you to share just a little bit about your journey and kind of how you're at your career, and how as a woman you've been able to become, be where you are. So Marilyn, I'll start with you. If you could just share a little insight with us.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, my journey actually started with a class teacher, basic education. That's my passion in the beginning. That's why later on always been that, the void in my heart, want to be mentoring, want to see our effort to make some difference. And then later on, I transited to entrepreneurship when I went to the capital city after my Master of Education. If jumping into the mentorship, in fact, even though my passion's been education, then I think my being in the business, the world, is a bit of influence from my father. And he was the leader of stay in the department store. So when I grew up that environment and been dealing different kind of businesses, different people, what I observed from him that being a true leader, that having really working hard and also the problem solving and also integrity. That's the some part. And also another, I would say the trait that I learned from him or impact on me is that, the pushing the limits. So with his encouragement, and that's why I always his saying is, if you're capable, go as far as you can. Then I have to run from a small Hong Kong to a capital city, and then even go outside of China to Canada. So that's, I would really see the power of mentorship and influence that people around you, doesn't matter if it's from family or from your the workplace. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And so, Sarah, tell us about your journey and how mentorship kind of impacted you as you were developing your career.
Sure. I grew up in a very union family. So I come from dad, grandfather, brothers who all loved the union mentality. And I was not the black sheep, but I was definitely the one that was like, I don't want to be involved in that kind of community. And so I started in the nonprofit and sales sector, and I've been there for about 15 years, but I've been lucky enough to have mentors my entire life. And really, I ask a lot of questions. I put myself in places where I feel really uncomfortable. Maybe like I feel like I don't have the skills, or I just feel like, oh, I don't really know if I belong there. I'll still go there and I'll still ask the questions and have the conversations. And that's how I always seem to run into mentors or people who have something to teach me. And so I've been there for about 15 years now and enjoying it, loving it.
So you do great work. So
thank you.
Sharon, tell us a little bit about your journey.
My mic is on.
And about how...
It's on.
One moment. It's on?
It's on, yeah.
It's closing.
Tell us a little bit about how you got here and what role, especially as a Black woman in Niagara, in Canada. Tell us a little bit about how mentorship played a role for you as you grew your businesses.
So for me, I worked 35 years in the corporate world. I worked for a Swiss company and also for Sun Life and group insurance. And for me, okay,
Just use that one.
yeah. So for me, I've really, in my corporate world,
It's working.
in my corporate world, I think because I'm from a big family and I've always had older brothers' influence in my corporate world I really sought out male mentors. And I have a really great friend who is owner of a very large transport company, but has come from humble beginnings. So always in that space of seeking mentorship from men, I think, which I think a lot of women don't actually do. And so for me, coming out to the Niagara area, even for me, it was very challenging because I moved from an area where there were predominantly brown-skinned individuals. So I had cultural barriers kind of that way. And when I first moved out to Niagara, I actually had coffee with someone who kind of gave me a rude awakening when I moved out here, saying that if I thought I was going to get support from Black women in this area to grow my business, that it wasn't going to happen. So when I looked at how I was going to progress in this area, I really had to think strategically about how I was going to do that.
Thank you. It's challenging, I look at the landscape of Niagara now, and to be honest, I very feel comfortable now. But looking back to even when I was in high school, a long time ago, we had one of the largest classes. We had 1,500 people in our graduating class because we had amalgamated a couple schools together. And there was 10 of us of color and 1,500 people in that school, and there was 10 of us. And so at that time, I felt like a celebrity. I was everybody knew my name. I think that's what made me really want the light because everybody knew who I was. But it was actually probably more uncomfortable, but out of an uncomfortable situation, I tried to kind of create the comfort, and the landscape has changed, which is lovely. I think the world has changed, which is wonderful. But when you look at, the mentorship, it was very hard to find somebody that looked like me, or looked even a woman in color to be able to go to see the problems or the challenges or the mindset that I was facing versus anybody else, right? And so it really took a bit of a challenging role. So Marilyn, I need to go to you, and I'd love to kind of know a little bit more, as a woman in media, woman of color, woman in media, tell me a little bit about what mentorship, the difference between mentorship and sponsorship, and kind of what that means to you.
Inside, let's say media or business world, and actually this is even more general broad view. There are a unique definition, but also more complementary to each other. Mentorship usually means that in a relationship, where usually a senior individuals provide advice, guidance, and support to less experienced person. So they usually provide the guidance and then also career development and also build the confidence to help let's say mentors, to help mentees to navigate challenges and develop careers and also build confidence. That's usually kind of broader meaning of mentorship. Sponsorship, on the other hand, it's more proactive and also strategic. The sponsor usually uses their influence and also the network to advocate the career advancement for the appropriate. So that's the bigger difference. So if one focuses more on personal growth, then sponsorship more focused on career advancement. So usually they active, promote this individual's skills and also the opportunities, and especially in front of decision makers.
Yes.
So that's actually very important, and they're not just behind the scene, they are more proactively providing that access. So that's why they are, the goal, of course, in the end, want to help these individuals to gain more visibility and also opportunities where, might not be accessible otherwise. So that's it, yeah.
It's such a good point. And, when you look at sponsorship, we look at events that we hold like women in business events or large scale for events where there's so many women. It's wonderful to invite men to the table because, that's their opportunity to develop that sponsorship. So they get to know us and they're able to share our names in rooms that we're not in, right? And so that sponsorship is really critical. So thank you.
Amen.
Sarah, I know you do you have your own business, but you also work with the not-for-profit sector and in a leadership role. And so curious to know a little bit about, what mentorship really looks like in your area. And more importantly, what type of activities are happening in the not-for-profit or even in business to help create that mentorship and that allyship even.
It's a great question. We, in the nonprofit sector, typically it's, there's a ton of females in the nonprofit sector, but in the higher level roles, there seems to be a lot of males in those roles. And you're always going to make sure that you want to have a mentor that gives you a piece of information or drives your career forward or just gives you something that you can share with the next group that's up and coming. And I'll give you a perfect example. One day we were sitting at a huge event like this. It was probably 150 people. And the most influential person in the room sat at the front at a panel. And her words were, "If you think we're going to eradicate poverty in our lifetime, you're all sadly mistaken." And that stuck with me so much because I thought, what a blown, missed opportunity. You have 160 engaged people all looking to you to mentor, to make a difference. And this one comment turned me off entirely. But it also changed my mindset because now what we do is we make sure, especially at Habitat, in fact, this morning we just spent our morning with Rob working with the business ethics class. And these are some up and coming young people that are going to be, civil rights lawyers. They're going to be accountants. They're going to be really great things. And their ideas are meaningful.
And so for us to spend, I think we spend about 15 hours with them total over the semester. We get to spend time mentoring them, working with them, asking their opinion, asking questions, and that makes such a difference. So if you have a mentor, and I know we talked about this, it's your obligation to be a mentor, no matter what industry you're in.
So thank you so much. And you're doing some, even with Habitat, the diversity and, the people you're working with has changed. Would you agree? Like the landscape of who you're serving has changed.
Who we're serving, it has to be totally changed, like their income levels, the families that are coming into Canada. We're working closely with them. We're working with a couple agencies across the room to say, hey, we have this open for you. Let us tell you when the applications are opening, and we encourage some of your people in your community to apply, and we'll walk you through the process. And so for us, it's a lot of collaboration, but it's 100% worth it.
People don't know what they don't know. Would you agree, right? Like people there's so many opportunities. There's so many people even coming today, like, it's great to always see people that we know, but there's so many things and resources and access to community services that we don't know. We think everybody knows, right? And so Sharon, I'm going to come to you. And so, as a Black woman, again, I'm sure there's barriers that you face. Specifically, I'd like to talk about, as a woman in business, though, what were the economic, perhaps barriers or challenges that you might have faced as you're building your business? And share a little bit about that with us.
I think for me, I was fortunate because I am a retiree with a pension. And so, like, for me, I had to look and at what level did I want to grow my business? So I just want to back up a little bit. So my business is Corks and Bubbles. And I started that business as a legacy for my mom, because I was so busy climbing up the corporate ladder that my mom got sick and ended up bedridden, ended up blind. So when she ended up blind, I would buy her like things from the Bath and Body, Elizabeth Arden. She was the Joan Rivers woman. And so, one day my mom said to me, honey, I know you can make these things. I remember buying her soaps and lotions and that. And I said, yes, Mama, I will. And I didn't do that. And so unfortunately, my mom passed away before I started to make soap. And so for me, I had to determine at what level was I going to grow this legacy for my mom. And so I didn't want to do it as, I wasn't looking for funding, but I had taken an investment readiness and saw the means and ways that you had to look for funding. And I saw so many barriers in the criteria that was required for funding. So that to me is an economic barrier in entrepreneurship that I find needs to be managed. But for me, I was building that legacy. So a lot of the money that I put into my business as a startup was from myself. But so I think my perspective on that funding aspect is a little different.
Thanks for sharing. And when I think about funding, not even funding, just really getting your business off the ground, or as a leader, getting things going. Women face different challenges. If women are home with their children, they don't have an opportunity to build credit. They don't maybe have an opportunity to build their nest egg that they might. If they are in a traditional family role, their history might be different than the male part. If you're looking at a newcomer to the country, if you're looking at, they might have a substantial portfolio at home, but coming here, they're starting fresh, right? And so there's those type of barriers that face a challenge when they're trying to access capital to move their businesses forward. So I've got another question for everybody here, and I'd like to talk a little bit about intentional allyship. Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about that. What does that look like in your world, in the world that you're connecting with businesses, you're growing your organization? What does intentional allyship look like for you?
Well, I think for me, if I go back to like talking about like mentorship, right? That to me, that's more like, from a coaching aspect. But sponsorship, for me, that's what I want to do for individuals is that sponsorship aspect of it, which is very different. And I know for me, for the opportunities that I've been able to capitalize on in the Niagara region, that I have many sponsorships in many aspects, in many different companies, many different industries, just from the approach or people approaching me to do things like this or the International Women's Day. And so for me, I know that is, it has to be very intentional, you know, and let's not like really put sponsorship, like for me, if you're sponsoring, you need to sponsor at a very intentional level. And if you're sponsoring, you're that individual's ally. And so you need to get to know that individual. I would say, Crystal, you're a beautiful woman. I saw you present today, but I don't really know you. And I think for a sponsorship, you really need to be intentional and put your time into learning about that individual, seeing, you know, do they need coaching? Do they need mentoring? Do they need to develop networking skills? And I think in being an ally and working with them in those areas, then you can really put yourself forward to be that real intentional sponsorer.
Thank you. Sarah, Marilyn, do you have anything to add to that? What does intentional allyship look like?
Sure, I do. I think for me, it looks like speaking the names of your friends and colleagues and other allies in rooms when they're not there, you know, so you speak well of them on their behalf. You make an introduction. You introduce someone over email. You introduce someone over LinkedIn. And this is the key part. You expect nothing in return. You literally introduce them, and that's it. It's out of your hands. But know that it always comes back to you tenfold. And I've seen that hundreds of times in my career, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, whether it's, you know, a business deal, it all comes back. But you have to go out there with the right intention of really making sure that you're making introductions, you're speaking well of people, and you're also knowing when you're making an introduction that there's a greater good for the two people that you're connecting.
I think you hit such a good point there, because often we're wondering, you know, oh, well, I mean, they could make a connection to me. They could connect me with somebody. Well, and we have to really put the mirror to ourselves. And who have we helped? Who have we made those connections for?
Exactly.
Who have we championed and really put out there? And, you know, I love how you said it pays back tenfold. The more you're going to do, my friends, the more it comes back to you, right? So the more intentionally you're making those connections, it definitely comes back. So thanks, Sarah.
And I just wanted to add as well, when you're doing that introduction to an individual, like if I'm introducing Crystal, I'm introducing her, and you know, you get those emails come across your desk to say, oh, hi Sharon, I'm introducing you to Crystal. And it really helps if you can say, I attended an event on which Crystal was a facilitator and how she did such a phenomenal job. And if you are looking for a facilitator, she may be somebody that you could consider. I will then leave it to the both of you to connect. But it's nice to, if you can put a positive word in for that individual as well.
And I hope somebody recorded that. So just... Marilyn, we'll go to you. Thank you so much.
It's a really good point. I want to echo on Sharon's point that as well. In the end, it can be summarized that, you know, the way, do some public support. When your colleagues or whoever you see that are underrepresented, and basically recognize their achievement or contributions. And also, if at any chances that you see that someone being overlooked, well, you have the chances to step, hey, wait, this is someone did it, and whoever, for example, put effort and mention their name and put her in public. So those something, you know, actions that we can do. But also, another thing is, I would say, if you have the power, if you don't, at least you can have, you know, that public awareness to support with this the resource allocation, which means with your own influence of circle, and you mention, you participate, you support, but if you have the power in some decision making and get somebody involved, and hear their thoughts and respect their insights, and having that process involved, so then they feel valued. And often you will see, in fact, their insights and being much more valuable than what you thought. So those kind of way, and always do even tiny things that advocate for them and for whatever you know from your circle and other events, workshop, and constantly bring it up and in front of them. And even tiny things, when you see some people around your circle, you did put a like for whatever, it's still one of, tiny actions you can do at least. Yeah.
Marilyn, I'm gonna stick with you for just a moment. I'd love to, you're in media and communications, and so I'd love to know a little bit more about, being in media. What are some of the things that people can do to help break some of those barriers and those stereotypes, specifically for Black women and women of color? But what can we do to be able to make sure that the landscape looks a little different in media and communications?
I think you actually did a very good question, and also very practical issues that can come up. For the media, of course, I think that first we need to have education. Education means we need to be able to identify the issues. We're not talking about general terms and challenges or discrimination or underrepresented, those kind of broad words. And then we need to understand what you're talking, what kind of challenges. So those things, and then how we have that, that's why in the media, and right now there's a multimedia world, and everybody has that power of influential circle. So in the end, turning out, this is the problems, and either being, let's say, undervalued or being not accessible some resources, or whichever, the injustice, the factors or facts that you have seen. So that's the education, which means put that in a more, raise the awareness and let people know that, it is happening. And by the way, when speaking of the education, I would say usually there's one factor probably being undermined that, there is the fact, and we need to accept the fact that we are human. Part of the human flaw is that we do have a bias. We do have discrimination, so we don't avoid that as I don't have. No, we do. Right. The problem is that what my bias coming from? It's from my unintentional, from lack of knowledge or lack of experience or what? Or because of my emotion being feared or being threatened, you need to identify what is that? Yeah. And then you come to, how I'm going to address that. Then I can go talk to and then say, hey, I want to hear what are the challenges. Like, everybody put your valuable time, come, during the weekday, and some people put their babies at home and come here to learn that, what is that? And then you address and how we're going to deal with that and who I work with. So those kind of education awareness, it is very important.
Yeah, and bias awareness is, I teach this stuff. And so when we look at bias and really understanding, I hear so many people are like, oh no, I don't see color. Hands up if you've ever heard that or said that. I don't see color. Bias awareness is seeing your color and appreciating the value that you're bringing to the table. But what we don't recognize is what we don't know. Right? We don't even know the challenges in our mindsets. Our parents, our family, our colleagues, our coworkers, the way we grew up have programmed us to think the way we think. And I think that's really, we can't break down the barrier until we know what our actual bias is, right?
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to go to you and talk a little bit about the work that you're doing at Habitat for Humanity. And so you're in a leadership role. And so how do you as an organization ensure that you're really practicing equitable measures and creating that equity, that inclusion? And are there any areas for you to grow that and strengthen that even more?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think there's always opportunities to grow and strengthen it. And we see it in the nonprofit sector when we're writing grants. We get asked how many women are on your leadership, how many people of color are on your leadership and board of directors. So those are very valid questions that people want answers to. And they want to make sure that they're funding projects that make DEI and things like quality and inclusion important to their culture and our culture. So internally, our team, we do a lot of, I would say, like the way we're structuring things, we're really trying to take a better look at the DEI portion of it. So we have, culture consultants that come in, and we do some training on it. I will say for the donor side and for the families that come to us, it's a pretty big conversation because there's so many families. And to give you an example, for every home that we post or open up applications to, we have approximately 70 applications that come through. And so those are families of all levels, kids, no kids, newcomers to Canada. And so those are some questions that we have to look at, like what demographic are we appealing to? What type of finances do they have? Because as people know, like, you don't just get given a Habitat home. Like, you get a home, but you have to put in like 500 volunteer hours. There's no down payment. It's zero interest mortgage, but we gear the payments towards income to make home ownership more affordable and attainable for people. And so that's really what it is. So it's not just you get given a home, but that looks different for every single family. And so in February, we gave we, had 4 independent moms who had kids of their own, all take ownership of their new homes in Thorold. And for us, that's a really exciting piece because, I'm an independent mom, and if you've ever been an independent parent, it's not always easy. And so to have them, get their own home and feel something like pride of ownership is such a big deal. And so when we're looking at DEI, we look at everything, yes, especially for the families.
That's really good. Thank you.
It's really great.
All right, we're going to move it down back to Sharon a little bit. And so, Sharon, why do you believe that systemic change and not just individual support is really critical to economic security for Black women in particular?
Well, I think both are important. It's like working and, being an individual contributor or sole contributor and contributing as a team as well. I think it has the same kind of connotation to it. So I don't want to shortchange that you get that individual support because I think it's really important. Again, I think that it has to be at a very intentional and strategic level, giving that individual support, but definitely from a systems process, policies level, those things definitely need to be looked at and to be changed as well. The people who are making those decisions, the policies that are being put in place around those, I think it all has a real impact on economics and the way in which people function in the world. But I think both can be beneficial if you're looking at them in different aspects and kind of bringing them together individually and from a support perspective. For me right now, I'm coaching and mentoring somebody at a senior level, and I've been reaching out to people that I know to support. So for me, I'm doing that at an individual level, but I'm also reaching out to people at a senior level that I know that can have influence on the things that change as well. So it's important for me that I'm contributing to her from my perspective, but then also to looking at things that can be changed and recommending changes as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the workplace and our work environments. And work environments specifically, this is my jam. This is what I do. I work with organizations to kind of cultivate this culture of success. And I often find that there's a bit of a roadblock when it comes to, initiating some of these leadership inclusion conversations, allyship conversations. Many of you have probably heard in the media right now, there's removal, and maybe not so much in Canada, but removal of things like DEI, which is very critical for the work that we're doing, right? From certain large organizations across the globe. And so what are some of the things that you believe, not even in your organization, but that organizations really need to be able to do to shift that mindset, but make real change in their organization at a leadership level when it comes to being able to think differently? So Marilyn, I'll go to you and then we'll...
Yes, in fact, as side thing is we see that what's happening in the U.S. and take this more, again, I don't want to go there, but DEI, I know at least in Canada, or I don't talk about people in Canada, even for my practice, like I am the chair of the DEI of City of Niagara for the Advisory Committee. The intention when I joined that, and I want to make that difference because of my effort in. So then start from 2 years ago, I started build the really tangible, the strategic plan. And also I help, hosted every year annual the DEI summit, and also launch the awards in the different sectors, and making sure that people come in really learn, like from the summit, to learn those psychological or sociology, or for example, any kind of, let's say, the real challenge and identify them.
Yeah.
And also, another, this is from one of the DEI at the workplace, and how do we at your own power at a different level of authority or influence?
Yeah.
Is that first? And I would say always promote and advocate. And another very important is lead by examples. Like you start from smaller minor things and help and identify and include other, they say, people in color or different, let's say, it doesn't matter is the Black woman or visible minority or even indigenous, so many different things. Just start the things that from your capability and then make sure that you're involved and is supporting them in their real actions.
I mean, the dimensions of diversity, my friends, are endless, right? You were talking about socioeconomic, you're talking mental wellness, you're talking about of course, gender diversity. There's so many different dimensions of diversity. But I think for me, if I can just kind of add on to that, one of the things that I think is really helpful is when you're able to show at a leadership level or even at an organizational level, the financial, unfortunately, that's what they're looking at, but the financial impact, the positive financial impact it can make to have diverse perspectives at the table. And I'll just share a quick little story. Because I thought of it, but I remember driving down the street once, one of our main roads in Niagara, and I saw a realtor who I highly respect. They had a few real estate signs up along that path, and there was about 4 of them. And all the real estate signs had their team on that. And I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first one don't count. What color all the people on that billboard were, right? There's 5 people on there, and they looked fantastic. But it was all Caucasian people, and I thought, our dynamic is changing. It's now you've got 5 billboards that have the same representation, and it's not a negative. It's just, when I call them to tell them, hey, I just want to, can I share some coaching with you? And he says, yeah, what, our landscape is changing, and we're doing business with so many different groups of people. And I said, it's wonderful that you're doing business with different diverse groups of people. And I bet you if you showed your results more than your people, you may grow your business differently. Because what happens is our unconscious biases go in, and anybody of color in here knows what I'm talking about, is that they might not be able to be relatable. Going back to my point earlier, right? They might not understand that I have to have my grandmother live in my home, or they might not understand that, there's a million different things, but that relatability I think is really important, because when you bring diverse perspectives to the table, financial impacts to your business are astronomical. Because now you're thinking differently. Everybody doesn't have this homogeneous thought process. We're all thinking a little bit differently. And so thank you for sharing, and sorry to go off tangent there, but Sarah, I'm going to bring that to you. What are some of the things within the organization at a leadership level that might look a little bit different?
Sure. So I'm really lucky to work for an organization that has very uncomfortable conversations in our senior leadership team meetings. and they're hard and they're behind closed doors, but I'm glad and grateful that we have them because, you know, sometimes they escalate a little bit, but they're always had. And so I think that keeps our organization changing and staying like more relevant and being more inclusive. But we're witnessing it right now. I just hired a grant writer who's so lovely, and she's from the US. She was born and raised in Buffalo. She's not here today, and I could tell this story. She said I could. But she's so lovely, and she was writing DEI grants and refugee grants. And with the new administration from the United States, she's like, basically our organization was shut down and my job was like null and void. It would have been done within 3 months. And she's lucky she had family over here. So she was able to come over here, work, and she's probably one of our like up and coming stars. Like you can just see it in her. Like she loves the work that she does. She's very well spoken. She can write really well. And it just is like, you know, these people that are doing good work in these organizations, these social services, you know, funding is cut and their job is gone. It's like it's nothing. And so it's really nice to have someone like that come in and be able to support.
When leaders are they're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
I'll go here, and then we have one last question, and we're going to wrap it up. Go ahead, Sharon. What are your thoughts at leadership level?
I think for me, you know, the whole DEI landscape, especially like, you know, what we've seen coming out of the US, I'm going to be honest with you, for me, it's been quite scary because, you know, all the work that we've done seems to, at first when I was seeing it, have gone away, and people, I think, have steered away from those conversations. And I think, you know, you can steer away from a conversation, but it's still going to be there. And so, like for me, like I have a business for myself, so I'm my own DEI individual. But even like I'm on the advisory committee for the region, the Women's Advisory Committee. So we have those deep discussions, and I know from the Niagara region perspective that they are going full force with DEI. They're not hiding away from it. It's a question that I brought forward at our last meeting, and you know, cascading from the top down, leadership training, employee training, like they're really engaged. Even at Goodwill, they're really engaged. I'm on the DEI committee for the chambers. Mishka is really leading with a DEI lens as well. And when I first joined that committee, we really talked about if we're not going to be bold and go forward first, then there's no sense in having this committee. So I know a lot of companies are really steering away from DEI or EDI or whatever it is that they're calling. And, you know, like maybe some companies will have to do that, but if their actions are still towards advancing DEI, then I'm okay with it. It's when they're not, it's when they're steering away from the name and steering away from the actions that I think we will be impacted. But, you know, I think just like we just all have to be, you know, we're all one. I think we should just be cheering and rallying, you know, for each other as just individuals and just to make a better world. And, you know, we have to realize too that there's younger generation that's coming up behind us, you know, and we have to make sure that it's a really good world for them as well. So I think for me, I'm just continuing to talk about the DEI and rallying for individuals and getting involved in whatever way that I can.
Thank you. All right, one quick rapid fire question. Are we good? So if you could look back, what would you, well, it's kind of a twofold question. What would you tell yourself as a younger woman? But also, what might you tell a young woman of color or a young Black woman as they're kind of starting their journey and their career in today's world? So Marilyn, I'll start with you, and then quickly we'll go down the road and we'll wrap it up.
I think I have 3 pieces of advice, and then one is be proactive, and as Sharon was mentioning, that always being seeking out for the opportunity, do not wait opportunities. This is always, and sometimes doesn't matter what kind of reason behind, shy or because, you know, your reception or whichever. at the end of the day, you need to go forward and seek out and earn and gain that opportunities. This is very important. And the second one is, I would say, being resilient, and changes or results may not happen in one day. So when you are getting involved or add some process, if it didn't happen as you expected, do not get discouraged or being negative about it. And just tell yourself, it takes time, and be positive and move forward, be patient. And most importantly, then again, constantly getting engaged and stay informed, so that you like this event, you know people, and you know what the things is not about just, let's say, woman of color. And then a lot of challenges that happen to indigenous, that happen even the same, let's say, I use the color, usually the question, they always say the white people as well, like when the seniors or when they say physically challenged, same issues come out.
Yeah.
In that case, tell yourself, the human flaws exist. I just need to move forward, and I do whatever I can. So last piece of advice is just, again, regardless of what happened around us, and we ourselves as individuals always, help others. It's always been, I don't want to get into the law of attraction in the universe. At the end of the day, helping others, offering your whatever capability you have, and then you can say no expectation from the world, but at the end of the day, you will know that always good things come back to you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you so much. All right, Sarah, my friend, go ahead.
So I would say a message to my younger self would be, don't shy away from those hard times. Sometimes we get stuck in something in business and we're like, oh, it's so uncomfortable, I just don't want to be in it. Really lean into that and be comfortable being uncomfortable, because those are the situations that will propel your career, but also propel your life, your business, your personality, all those things that you're like, oh, I hate those, but it's actually really the best. Go through it, lean in, just run into the store. It doesn't matter.
No, we say life happens for you, not to you.
Exactly.
It's you learn that when you come out of it on the other side. So
exactly.
Thank you. Sharon, what would you tell your younger self?
So for me, when I grew up in a large family, like I said earlier, and I always had my seat at the table, and I always sat in a certain spot. When we were growing up, we always had Sunday dinner together. So I've always felt like I've had a seat at the table. And so for me, I've just been trailblazing through to always have my seat at the table.
No.
And when I was working corporately, we always went by the 80-20 rule, in that my boss would be like 80-20. You're 80% there, go with it, and you course correct the other 20, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. And so if you are searching for perfection, good luck to you. You're not going to find it. Use the 80-20 rule. And even if you get to 100% that you think is perfect in your mind, it's not perfect. So even with everything I do, everything needs to be course corrected, whether it's a formula or a service that you're providing. So I think just go forth with just purpose and positiveness and resilience. And I think that you will get there. And a lot of times you're just going through some tumultuous times. For me, my papa passed away 3 weeks ago at 3:00 this afternoon. My dad's on a flight from Barbados, his remains, but yet I've still had to function in business. And so it's really just about resilience, and always ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask for it. It would be my parting words.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. All right. Well, to my panelists, thank you so much. It's been a real joy and honor to speak with all of you. And to our guests today, I hope you've had a fantastic time, and I hope you've learned something from our guests. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for our panelists for that powerful and insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your stories, your wisdom, and your candor with us today. On behalf of Future Black Female and Women in Niagara, we're so grateful for your time and your presence. And I hope that every one of us in the audience has one thing to take away from this panel today. As a source of appreciation, we would like to present each of you with a gift and gesture just to say thank you for the impact you made here today as the examination in your community. Please join me in one more round of applause for our time.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I will call on Lauren
Just stop the
to conclude your remarks. Just to let me have on the screen, please, and so take the survey.
Okay, let's see why I can script this. So today's event, her seat at the table, a lunch and learn is more than title. It's a moon carry. Today, we've taken real steps toward building a culture where women are not just invited to the tables, but supported, sponsored, and empowered and lead once we're there. So I hope you guys felt that today. We've explored how meaningful connection can open doors, how mentorship and sponsorship each play distinct but powerful roles in our growth, and how allyship strengthens the path for everyone. And I really liked that discussion, how we talked about the differences between them and everyone's take on that. That was really helpful and insightful. So whether you came here to learn, to lead, or to listen, you've made the space more impactful by showing up fully. This event wouldn't have been possible without our incredible partners. To Future Black Female, thank you for your unwavering commitment to removing systemic barriers and creating space for Black women and girls to thrive. Your leadership and vision are at the heart of today's event. And to the YMCA of Niagara and Jillian, thank you for your continued support of the Lunch and Learn series. Your sponsorship helps make these critical conversations possible. And a sweet thank you to Tammy from Board to Bits Game Cafe for treating us to those amazing cake pops. They're such, actually I haven't had mine yet, it's going to be mine. But it's such a fun and delicious addition to the day. To our speakers, panelists, volunteers, and all of you in the audience, thank you for engaging with open minds and open hearts. We hope you leave here not just with new contacts, but with real connections, fresh confidence, and a plan to take your next step, whatever that may be. Please see Karina and Amy on your way out. They'll collect your name tag. And let's keep lifting as we climb. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. You can check the GNCC's website for networking events year-round. Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Survey. I just want to speak to us about how important this survey is, because like we said earlier, this collaboration is part of the Draft Women's Economic Security Project. So we want to hear from you and actually inform our future programming. So it's really important to us that you complete the survey 3 minutes max. I put the questions together 3 minutes. Thank you.